Hi there. Thanks for joining me. I'm doing this live and I just thought I would try this out. I'm hoping it's going to upload afterwards. I've been asked by a few people for some movements and gentle exercises to help with neck pain or also shoulder pain or shoulder discomfort. So this could be happening for a variety of reasons. A lot of us tend to have posture like this when we're working, especially if we're working from home and we're not kind of on an office environment with our ideal kind of posture or setup. So they're just going to give you a few quick tips about how to start to adjust maybe how you're working, or if you've been doing home exercises or a new exercise program and you've strained something in your shoulder or your neck, how you can maybe take a few steps back and do some gentle exercises to kind of help your body move well again without irritating it. So please, as with anything I'm posting here, if you're feeling an irritation of your symptoms, or if it's getting worse, or if certainly if the pain comes back later in the day or is keeping you awake at night, please stop doing the exercises if it's coming from just being irritated because of these. These are all fairly gentle movements and are in typically healthy movements. So just kind of reteaching your body in really safe positions how to do these movements may help you return to your normal activity, whatever it might be, doing exercises or working or whatever. The first thing I just want to talk about with neck and shoulders, so we want to be aware of the alignment in our body as we're working or moving or exercising or whatever it is. So ideally we want, if you're looking straight ahead, you want your ear to be right on top of your shoulder. So a lot of us tend to kind of work a little bit like this, or if we've got our phones in our hands or our computers, we're working kind of with our heads forward and down a little bit. And the same thing happens, I notice when I'm driving, I do this too. I'm holding onto the steering wheel, especially if it's dark or it's raining. I'm doing this as if that's going to help me see the road better, or certainly this as well. So we just kind of want to make sure that you're bringing your head back on top of your shoulders. And there's a few different ways to describe this, but the best way I've heard is a head ramp. So the head kind of slides back and the back of your neck kind of lifts up a little bit. So you're kind of ramping the head. Thank you to Katie Bowman for that, from Nutritious Movement, ramping your head back up so your head kind of finds its way on top of the shoulders. You're kind of drawing the chin in a little bit, lifting the back of the head, the base of the skull, so that your head settles right on top of the shoulders. That will make it a little bit harder. Well, it'll certainly move you out of this position, but it'll also make it a little bit harder for your shoulders to stay forward. If you're ramping your head back, the tendency is for those shoulders to come back a little bit as well. And so to do that, kind of starting from the top, ramp your head back, place your head kind of on top of the shoulders, so you're bringing the base of your skull up a little bit and dropping your chin down, so your eyes are still parallel to the ground here, and your chin is also parallel to the ground. And that also encourages the chest to open up and the shoulders to kind of open as well. So with all of these activities, we're going to be trying to find that alignment. And often if you correct one part here, like the head, the rest of it kind of falls into place. The chest starts to open up a little bit. You can also start to be aware of where your chest is. So kind of opening up across the front of your chest, your collarbones, and drawing your shoulders or your arm bones even just a little bit back into the shoulder sockets, not necessarily squeezing your shoulder blades together because that's too much, but just drawing the head of the arm bone just back into the shoulder socket. You can always place your hand on top of your shoulder and kind of encourage it back a little bit, and on both sides. And that kind of opens up or lengthens through the collarbones, and will kind of help with that alignment as well. So that's just a little bit of information in that first kind of head ramp exercise or movement, something you can be aware of throughout the day. Drawing the chin in, lifting the base of the neck just a little bit, but keeping the eyes parallel to the ground so that the head is stacked on top of the shoulders. So hopefully that gives you a little bit of a cue, and when you're working or driving or on your computer, whatever it might be, playing the piano even, being aware of that. Your eyes can still travel downwards, but you really have to be kind of hunched over like that. So that may be a little bit of something to start with, the head ramp position. The next one I'm going to show you is going to be on the ground. So I'm just going to adjust it a little bit here to make sure you can see me, or you can do this one on your bed. but a firmer surface. And if it feels comfortable to do this without a pillow or without a cushion underneath your head, you can do that. If you have a difficult time when you're lying down, I don't have a pillow, but I've got a little jacket here. If you have a difficult time when you're lying down and your head kind of has to reach back for the ground like this, then you do want to put a little something underneath it. So again, the eyes can be perpendicular to the ground now, looking straight up towards the ceiling. So I'm okay without the pillow. So I'm just going to lie on the ground here. Maybe my knees are bent, and the palms, if it feels comfortable, you can have your palms facing up here. Okay, the arms closer to the body. I'll make it a little bit gentler on the neck. Keep the eyes straight up towards the ceiling, maybe dropping that chin down, that same movement, lengthening through the back of the neck a little bit, the palms facing up. And just see if you can relax your shoulders, letting your shoulder blades kind of be heavy to the ground. And the palms facing up may allow for that. Adjust the height of your arms as you need to make it more comfortable. Okay, so in this position, the palms facing up, the knees bent so that the back is supported. You can just very gently turn your head to look over your left shoulder, come back to center, and turn it to look over the right shoulder. So just kind of turning side to side here. If you're feeling discomfort, maybe you've woken up in the morning with a bit of a kink in your neck, or you have a little bit of a pinch or something, then just go as far as feels comfortable. If you start to feel that kind of grabbing or that pain, that sudden pain, then just stop in that position. See if even in that position you can relax the rest of your body. Are your shoulders kind of tightening up when you start to feel that? Or are you able to kind of find the end of that range wherever it is and then relax the body through that? You might notice that the discomfort kind of settles if you can kind of relax the rest of your body. So you can do that a few times to each side, trying to just pay attention to when your body, if your body starts to tighten up because of tension or pain, then just reduce the range of motion a little bit. Otherwise, turning your head side to side and just noticing where it could easily go to, okay? Returning to that gentle, supported rotation of the neck, that range of motion through the neck, but only in a distance or a range that feels comfortable for you, okay? So you've got the head ramp, the neck rotations in that supine position, maybe the palms facing up. I'll look at my notes here. And then the next one goes back to that chin ramp a little bit. We're going to do what I call is a chin slide. So we're going to think about that same thing you did with the head ramp. You're going to drop your chin down a little bit. Think of lengthening the back of your neck and kind of create a bit of a double chin here. A little bit of tension into the middle of the neck here, and then relax. So the chin slides down. The base of the skull kind of goes away from your shoulders as your chin drops down, and then relax. The palms again facing up. Slide the chin down. Think of the base of your neck kind of going up a little bit. Maybe your head slides up on the ground a little bit. Your head does not lose contact with the ground. Slide your chin down, lengthen the back of your neck, and again, pay attention to how, if this is affecting and how it's affecting your shoulders and your chest, and maybe even your back. You might find, as you're doing this, that maybe your back wants to arch to allow this movement here. Something else has to give. So just pay attention to that. Only do the movement with your neck that moves your neck, as opposed to compensating through some different way through your body to try to get that movement. So just see what your neck will allow. Keep the big ropey muscles on either side of your neck. Keep them fairly relaxed. So you're not clenching to get this movement. It's just a very gentle, subtle downwards movement of the chin, sliding upwards of the back of the neck. So you're lengthening along the back of the neck. Palms facing up if that feels comfortable. Good, and sliding the chin down, lengthening the back of the neck. Good. There shouldn't be any pain when you're doing that either. So just stay nice and relaxed. If you're noticing pain, just stop the exercise or reduce the range of motion for the exercise. Good. The next one, you're going to be lying on your back. I'm going to show you with my right arm. You might want to start with your unaffected side, or the side that's not as sore. You're going to bring your arm up so your hand is in line with your shoulder here, so it's perpendicular to the ground. I'm going to make a fist, but it's going to be a light fist. If you clench your fist, it often creates tension in your neck. So for this one, you're going to think about your arm bone here coming out of your shoulder socket, so your fist, your fingers kind of reaching up towards the sky, and then you're going to think about the arm bone sliding back down into the shoulder socket. Okay, so the arm bone comes out of the shoulder socket, your spine stays on the ground, and then the arm bone slides back into the shoulder socket. Out and in. Arm bone comes out, and the arm bone slides back in. Good. So you can also start to feel here. It's usually easiest to kind of get the sense of that motion by focusing on the arm bone doing this movement. But what's also happening, and you may be able to pay attention to it a little bit, is your shoulder blade, as your fist comes up towards the ceiling, your shoulder blade is coming wide on your rib cage. It's kind of coming off the ground. And then as your arm bone comes back in, the shoulder blade kind of tucks back in towards your spine. So if you can't feel that, don't worry about it, but that's something that you may want to start to pay attention to. And see if you could start to feel that movement happening of your shoulder blade kind of sliding on your rib cage. So if this is your rib cage, your shoulder blade is on the outside of it and it's sliding back and forth away from your spine and then towards your spine. Good. You keep going there. You can switch to the other side. I'm just going to show you from a seated position what that looks like. Your arm bone's coming out of your shoulder socket and then it's sliding back in. Good. You can kind of imagine my shoulder blade here coming wide on my spine and then coming back in towards my spine. So you may feel that a little bit on the ground because your shoulder blade is going to be touching the ground as it comes back in. You want to make sure that when you're doing this, you're not losing your neck on that side. So you're keeping some distance between your shoulder and your ear. Okay, they'll be working the muscles below the shoulder blade and around the shoulder blade, as opposed to the muscles that attach your torso to your neck, which can create more tension in your neck. Okay, so that's the second exercise. That's a good one when you're lying on your back to do either, whoops, I'll show you this way, do either one arm at a time. And just figuring out that movement kind of is encouraging the shoulder blades to move along your rib cage in a nice, well-supported manner. That one is going to come into play in some later videos that I show you that can help to stabilize your shoulder blades and create strength across your upper back, which will help with all of that postural stuff we talked about before. The next exercise is basically the same position you were just in, lying on your back. Again, knees bent. This is a great one to do anytime, anywhere, even on your bed. Knees are going to be bent. The palms are going to be facing up. And I just want you to settle in here and see if you can find an opening across the front of your chest that's available to you without, again, arching your back to trying to get it or changing the position of your spine or your pelvis to do that. The arms closer to the hips is going to be a little less opening for the chest. And as you raise your arms up, kind of to shoulder height, maybe all the way up to here, you may feel a little bit more of an opening or a stretch across the front of your chest. What you're looking for here is to allow the spine to stay neutral. So you hang out in that position. I'm just going to talk you through a few things. If you think about the back of your pelvis, that hard part on the back of your pelvis below your lower back, you want that to be nice and flat on the ground. You also want most of the back of your rib cage to be flat on the ground as well. So there's a little arch at your lower back, but the back of the pelvis is flat and most of the rib cage is touching the ground. The shoulder blades are also kind of settling into the ground or touching the ground. So you can even kind of tuck them under a little bit to allow the shoulder blades to settle onto the ground. The back of the neck is nice and long, as we did in that first exercise. And the eyes are perpendicular to the ground, so looking straight ahead, or straight up as the case may be. And then finding a position for your arms that allows you to feel a gentle opening across the front of the chest. So stay there for another little bit here. I usually recommend people hang out for a couple of minutes in that position. It should feel nice and should feel safe and should feel good. Okay. Your yoga mat, you can always put a little pillow here or a block to rest on. But what that does is it lifts your spine basically higher off the ground. So this is right along my spine here. And that's effectively allowing my arms to be further behind my body to get that same stretch. So that's another option there for a little bit more of an opening or more of a stretch there. A towel rolled up, or this is just a fleece jacket kind of thing rolled up. The final exercise I'm going to show you is a side lying exercise. So you are going to want to have some sort of a pillow or something for your neck in this exercise. You're going to be lying on your side. This actually can be a really good one to do in bed in the morning, since you're in bed and you've usually got pillows or blankets around you anyways. I'm going to show you with the least amount of props that I can, and you can always modify, and I'll tell you how to do that. So this one, if you're able to lie on your side, you're going to place a pillow or something underneath your head, just so that you're well supported there. Your top leg is going to be bent in front of you, a 90-degree angle of the hip, and a 90-degree angle of the knee as well. Your bottom leg, you're just going to kind of get it out of the way. So I'm going to kind of stick mine nice and straight underneath me, okay? And I'm lying right on that, right on the side. Both arms are going to reach forward this one. For this one, you want to make sure there's enough of the pillow or the support behind your head, because you're going to be rotating backwards, and you want your head to still be supported when you rotate backwards. So to start with, the fingers are together, palms are together. You're going to reach the top arm forward, which you can kind of see is that same movement of pulling the arm bone out of the shoulder socket. And the first level for this one, you're going to slide your hand along your palm, along your arm, maybe along the top of your chest, and you're going to kind of bend your elbow behind your body. Your head can start to turn backwards as your torso is rotating backwards as well. And then slide the hand forward again, reaching forward, rotating the torso towards the ground, or rotating your chest towards the ground. And then slide your hand back across your arm, across your chest, elbow comes behind the body. And reaching forward, rotate forward, and then rotate open. You do want to make sure that as you're doing this kind of bow and arrow type movement, that your knee that's on the ground is rotation and extension or backward bending of the upper back of the area of your rib cage, your thoracic spine. Fingers reach forward, body rotates forward, and then your body rotates open. That's the first level of this side lying rotation exercise. It's kind of a bow and arrow movement. Your elbow comes back, your torso starts to rotate backwards, elbow maybe is heavy to the ground. And you should feel this a pretty subtle movement, but you should be able to feel this in the area of the rib cage along the spine. Okay, so right in the middle of your back, along your spine. Another option for this one is once you get to this bow and arrow, this pulled position, this rotated open position, you could open that arm back behind you and straighten the arm behind you. That will give you quite a bit of a stretch across the front of the chest. And you can let the arm be nice and heavy, kind of letting gravity take it down. If you're feeling a pinch into your lower back at all, your lower back is starting to rotate, so you want to maybe bend the elbow or lower the arm down a little bit so you're not getting as much rotation. There's just kind of some compensation happening in your spine there. Okay, that's not what we're looking for. We're looking for a rotation from the upper back or the thoracic spine, not from the lower back. And keeping that knee nice and flat on the ground, nice and firm on the ground. You can always put the bottom hand on top of that knee to make sure it's not moving. That should help you to keep the movement in the upper back. Okay, another level of that is to reach the fingers forward, and this time instead of bending the top elbow, reach your fingers forward and away from you as far as you can, all the way up towards the ceiling, and then opening up behind you. And reach up towards the ceiling. They should reach past your bottom fingers, and then you can slide them back on top. So I call this the rainbow. The fingers reach forward, you draw a rainbow through the sky behind you, and then back to your starting position. Good. If you are feeling any discomfort in the neck as you're doing this, you can think about keeping your nose in line with your chest bone. So when you open up, you don't have to look to the fingers behind you. You can maybe even close your eyes so that your nose doesn't leave the line of your chest bone. So even as you're opening up, maybe you're still looking where your chest bone is looking. That should help you to reduce any discomfort in the neck. Okay. I'm just going to show you from the other side, just so you can see what's happening in my spine as I do this. Top leg is bent in front. Hands reach forward. Body rotates towards the ground. And your elbow comes back behind you. Okay, so this isn't moving. My lower back isn't moving. I'm getting that rotation in this area of my spine. Reach forward and bend your elbow back. Good. And your option here is to reach forward and open the arm behind you. I'm getting that big, nice, long stretch across the chest. You can always keep your nose in line with your chest bone. Or your other option is to reach your fingers away from you, up towards the ceiling, and then back behind you. Again, keep the nose in line with the chest bone if you need. And that extra weight and that extra stretch across the front of the chest. And the rotation. Pain, always be aware of your alignment, which has to do partially with your posture, but just pulling your head back on top of your shoulders, thinking about opening up through the front of the chest a little bit. The other thing you don't really want to do is arch through the spine to do that. So it's a small, subtle movement. It may take a while to get used to that, but the more awareness you have about how you're holding your body most of the day, and then being able to pull yourself back into kind of proper, an upright alignment, I should say, that I think that'll all help in the long run. Okay, thanks for watching. I wish you all the best. I'll put a few little tips about how long to do these exercises for and how many repetitions to do in the notes, if I can figure that out. Take care. Bye.